Hi everyone, and welcome to the forecast for the Aquarius new moon. It's on the 11th of February 2021, 5 past 8 in the evening, Central European time. And a new moon is always a new start, a time to set intentions for what you want to achieve in this area of your life for the next year until the next new moon in this area, for the next lunar month until the next new moon. And so this new moon is in Aquarius, and Aquarius is getting packed with planets. With the moon and the sun, there are 6 celestial bodies in Aquarius at this time. That's Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, who's also retrograde, the sun and the moon. And actually, for historical context, the last time this happened, when we actually had, I think, Mars there as well, was in February of 1962. And so I thought I'd just look up a few things for you to give you some historical context. And of course, Aquarius carries the significances of, it's an air sign, so it's about unity, about equality, about communication, but on the grander social level, perhaps more than the other air signs of Gemini and Libra. So what happened in 1962 was, of course, interestingly enough, not so much about unity, but we had the Cuban Missile Crisis, which was perhaps the part of the Cold War that pushed us closest as a community, as a society, closest to actual war. And Aquarius is a fixed sign, so it can also be very stubborn, and so that's part of this whole thing. But it ended up with actually establishing a hotline between Moscow and Washington, D.C. So I think that, carries this whole communication and bringing towards unity. But Aquarius also signifies, science and looking further, looking to the stars and innovation. And actually, that's quite interesting because the European Space Agency was actually funded by 12 nations in 1962. Also, Jamaica gained independence from Great Britain and Algeria from France. It was the year when the first use of silicone breast implants. So that's for, innovation in technology. And it was the year of the first live transatlantic television signal. So I think, we're up for, and also it was the year that the UN condemned the apartheid regime in South Africa. So, Aquarius also rules groups and these large international organizations. But back to this new moon. So with these many planets, it's called a stellium, or also, I've also heard the term assembly, when there are these many planets grouped together. And the process of this new moon period is actually quite interesting, intense, and has lots of ups and downs, I would say, because it all starts off with the moon joining up with Pluto at the end degrees of Capricorn. So this signifies some sensitivity, clarity, transformation, elimination, intensity, and it's also a signification of emotional nuclear energy. So a lot of people that have this aspect of Moon Pluto in their birth charts can be so super sensitive, really seeing what's happening beneath the surface that other people are trying to hide. It carries perhaps, suspicion, but anyways, intense emotions, and I would say also revelations of what's really important to us. So we're going into this new moon period with that. Then the moon joins Saturn, which is almost in its first exact square with Uranus. The first exact square is on February 17th, just a week from now. And at that time, in that week, the moon will actually be joining Uranus on the other side of the square. But this is one of the major astrological signatures for 2021 and parts of 2022. And it signifies the tension between stability, the establishment, tradition on the one side, and on the other side, instability, revolution, and the shaking up of things that are no longer good for us, It's a tension between perspectives, because Aquarius, where Saturn is, where all these planets are, Aquarius is looking up to the stars. It's looking for innovation, for new horizons, new perspectives, finding out what's really true for the individual. But Taurus is more like looking down on the ground. It's about grinding, working hard, getting your needs met. It's very grounded. It's very it's the farmer, that is always looking at the soil and looking for the seeds to grow. So it's this tension between perspectives, because I guess you could exemplify this as Aquarius being more like, oh well, I found this system for that will, eliminate world hunger in 30 years. But Taurus is like, hey, that's great, but I need to get my needs met now. The people are hungry now. I don't really care about 30 years into the future. I care about now. Yeah, I've talked a little bit about that before, and I'm sure I'll talk about more about that further on. But we see that especially as Mars is triggering this square this year. Those are the periods when we will see it most, I think, because Mars will give this, impulsivity to everything. And that's what has been going on for this first part of 2021, of us getting, riots basically in a lot of countries. But for the moon, going into this square is also a part perhaps of making it more relevant to us, being like, hey, I want to get these new things, and how can I actually make my new perspectives happen in a way that is grounded, in a way that is taking care of my needs, and not just having these grand ideals and big visions of Aquarius. Moon Saturn also can be quite pessimistic, so I would say it's kind of a downer. But then the moon, a few hours later, joins Jupiter and Venus, which are conjunct exactly at this time. And these are the two benefics. So Jupiter is hopeful, optimistic, indulgent. It's about finding solutions. So yeah, with Saturn, we're becoming aware of the problems. With Pluto, we're becoming aware of the problems. Jupiter's like, hey, I'm sure we can find a way to solve this. Venus brings in partying, security, comfort, beauty, radiance, and together they're blessings, opportunities, and ease. So it's definitely a high, and looking to the future. Again, it's Aquarius, Jupiter bringing optimism, Venus bringing ease, harmony. Yeah, so that's the first part. And then we have Mercury retrograde, which is again looking back towards the problems. Retrograde periods, especially for Mercury, is about working out problems and looking at how can we solve this? How can we rework what we've been doing for this area of our lives for the past time in our lives? Mercury is also in square with Mars in Taurus. So this kind of signifies perhaps a verbal conflict where both sides are being very stubborn. They're in fixed signs. Both Taurus and Aquarius are fixed signs. And coming from completely different perspectives again. The first hit of this was the 9th of January. So things could have been coming up for us then, and now it's sort of like the second stage, and the last part will be March 24th. So it's being with us all through the first quarter of 2021. But the last meeting in the square between Mercury and Mars will be when they both change signs, Mercury into Pisces and Mars into Gemini. So, and these are mutable signs, so there's more interest in finding common ground, in being flexible, and finding these resolutions to the issues through flexibility. It's definitely a softening, and the moon going over this part is flaring it up, adding this emotionality. But while it's in Aquarius, it's also reason or coldness and logic, and that could contribute to a feeling of alienation between parties, as one side is fiery, passionate, and the other is very cold and logical. And also with Aquarius, it's this, it has this signification of perhaps isolation or taking time to yourself. It's a very individualistic sign after all. So taking some time away from these situations could be very beneficial at this time. Now the positive side of the Mars-Mercury square is having the motivation and using the logical view of your emotions to assess the situations or mindsets that you're working through with Mercury. So I generally sort of caution against using too much reason over feeling your feelings, but especially at this time, it can be a very beneficial thing, and also there's a way where you can always be like, hey, what is my anger, what is my frustration, what is my sadness, showing me is important to me, and then dealing with that, because I think that a lot of our emotions are just communicating what is important to us. So as Mercury is retrograde, it can definitely be beneficial to take a little time for yourself and find a way to acknowledge your frustration at the same time, your frustration over the situation that Mercury is hinting to. But as I said before, the process continues until the last hit at the end of March 24th, when they both have changed into the mutable signs of Pisces and Gemini. So finally is the new moon at 8 o'clock, just past 8 o'clock Central European time on Thursday, February 11th. So I call this the new moon, the birth itself. It's a new beginning in this area of your life where you're finding what really works for you. Aquarius is about finding your own perspective, looking to what really matters to you, setting intentions about what new things to start based on your own ideas, your own considerations of what is actually right for you. Now, with the air signs being so impressionable and sensitive to other people's opinions and needs, there is a potential with Aquarius to just go with the flow, go with the group, because Aquarius wants to be part of a group. So be aware of that you're actually honoring your own ideas, your own preferences, and what is right for you. So for the sign-by-sign forecast, remember to listen for your rising sign primarily for perhaps more concrete details about how this new moon energy is affecting you. But if you don't know your rising sign, then you can listen for your sun sign as well. But the energies will perhaps be a little bit more general. So for Aries and Aries rising, the new moon and everything Aquarius is in your 11th house of friend groups, of goals and aspirations for organizations. So this is where you're getting this buildup of planets and the remaking of this area of your life. For Taurus and for Taurus rising, Aquarius and this new moon and all the planets are in your 10th house of career, of legacy, of people in authority. So this signifies a brand new start in your career, in how you appear to the world, how you show up in society. For Gemini and Gemini rising, this new moon, all the Aquarius planets are in your 9th house of long distance travel. Not too much of that happening now, but it's also of higher education, of learning, of teaching. So as you're setting intentions for what you want to achieve in this area of your life. So all these Aquarius planets are there. Focusing on perhaps getting a brand new start, going back to school, going back to finishing up your degrees, finishing up your some old things related to travel. For Cancer and for Cancer rising, this new moon and all the Aquarius planets are in your 8th house, and the 8th house is one of the perhaps more difficult houses. It's related to things like occult topics, of your deep psychology, of deep intimacy in partnership, of shared resources, and of other people's money. So this is this new moon represents a brand new start in how you deal with these topics, how you deal with your money, how you deal with your deep psychology. It could be a brand new start in relationship as well, on the more deep personal level. So for Leo and Leo rising, this is your 7th house. So the focus is all on partnership, of partnerships that can be one-on-one romantic partnerships. It can be a business relationship. It can be close friendship. But yeah, this is a brand new start in how you deal with this area of your life. For Virgo and Virgo rising, the Aquarius new moon, the Aquarius planets are in your 6th house of health, of everyday life, of work, of habits. So it represents a new start in how you deal with your health, how you deal with perhaps coworkers, how you deal with office politics. That's also part, since Aquarius is related to politics. So it's a brand new start in finding new ways that work for you in this area of your chart. For Libra and Libra rising, the Aquarius planets, the Aquarius new moon, are all in your 5th house of romance, of creativity, of children, of sports as well. So this is a fun energy for you, and yeah, finding new ways of how to deal with these things. It's super focused. For Scorpio and Scorpio rising, it's all in your 4th house of home and family, of roots, of your ancestors, your lineage. This is another one of those houses that can be associated with deep psychology, with because it's your personal life, right? So it's a brand new start in how you deal with perhaps your family, with your living situation, with property also comes up here. So yeah, interesting to see how this will turn out for you Scorpio rising people. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, this Aquarius new moon and the Aquarius stellium is in your 3rd house of communication, of your close community, of your extended family, of also actually the 3rd house is associated with mental health. So it could represent a new way of how you deal with your mindsets, how you think about things, but also how you communicate to other people. This is more like the everyday kind of communication, like emails and text messages. Copywriting. Yeah, so how to do that. And it's a brand new start in this area of your life. For Capricorn and Capricorn rising, this Aquarius stellium, the Aquarius new moon, is all about it's in your 2nd house, so it's all about how you make your money, how you handle your money, how you deal with food. So work comes up here, but yeah, how to get your needs met, essentially. And you're finding new ways of how to deal with that. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this is in your sign, so it's in your 1st house of identity, of persona. Health can come up here, your body. So it's a brand new way, a brand new start in how you deal with this topic, how you deal with yourself, how you present yourself to the world. Yeah, good luck. And finally, for Pisces and Pisces rising, this is in your 12th house of it's also a place of deep psychology, but perhaps more of your dreams, of isolation, how you deal with loss. So interesting energy. The occult topics come up there a lot as well. That's what I'll say about that. So finally, I wanted to say good luck with everything on this new moon. As the moon and then in a week the sun moves out of Aquarius, this energy will dissipate, but I think, as Jupiter will be here for quite a time, Mercury is retrograde for another few weeks still, and Saturn will be there for about at least 2 more years. I think we'll definitely fill this area of our lives for a long time to come, but it's getting supercharged at this time. So yeah, set the intentions for what you want to achieve in this area of your life for the next 2 years, as Saturn is transiting Aquarius. Happy new moon. Hope you're all doing well. See you next time.